Hey,
Hey, I'm going to go ahead and get this presentation going. If you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt me at any time, but this is my Utah Agents 2022 Utah Real Estate Forecast. We are lucky enough to have some amazing people up at the University of Utah that work with our board of realtors. We joined the one that they hosted for the Northern Wasatch Association of Realtors the other day. We did that poolside in Florida when we were there for a conference. And then this morning we had the Salt Lake board. And so with that, we just wanted to share with everybody kind of like the bullet points, the snapshots of what to expect this year in 2022 when it comes to Utah real estate, since, as we know, for years past, it's been a hot market. It's only getting hotter. And right, everybody says, are we is it a boom or is it about to crash? What's going on? A lot of people have been hesitant when it comes to essentially maybe making their move a reality. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive into this. And we are going to focus on the 2021. So what just happened in 2021? What happened is Utah had a 7% inflation rate. So inflation has gone up greatly, partly due to the fact that the feds, when COVID hit, they actually funded $1.8 billion into Utah's economy. So that's in two parts. They had one for a specific bill, and then they said, and then here's another $900 million that the Fed said, this is to help keep your economy strong, to help during COVID. Obviously, this is unprecedented times back when COVID hit, as far as people being recommended across the world to stay home. And so with that being said, that actually obviously has a cause and effect of inflation. So 7% just last year. Utah is in the midst of an economic boom, and for many, many different reasons. We're also a part of a high growth state, and that is primarily due to the fact that we have a lot of jobs here. More and more companies are moving their employment facilities here. We've had Amazon move here. Walmart has 3 different warehouses here. We have the federal government here. As far as the IRS goes, we have the Forest Service here. We have a lot of other government jobs are here, including Hill Air Force Base, among other things. So our job opportunities here are great. And with that, there's an attractive labor market. People here are great workers overall. They're willing to work for affordable pricing that companies otherwise would have to possibly pay more for out of state. That's primarily due to the fact too that just our cost of living here is lower than some of those other areas. We have a high quality of life here in Utah. So with that being said, a great sense of community across Utah, and it's only getting better and even more awesome, even as we have more people come in from out of state. We have great places to go play outside in the mountains all 4 seasons long, whether it's skiing, whether it's hiking, mountain bike riding, from north part of Utah all the way down to southern Utah. And with that also being said, Utah is geographically well placed. We're kind of like a hub, hence why they even built probably the railroads here back in the day with Union Station and Ogden. It's a really easy meeting point for many other states to essentially disperse from. So that's awesome to hear as well. We are actually the 10th in the country for growth. And we only have a 2.7% unemployment rate. So finding great talent has always been a struggle, but primarily now with unemployment that low, you're obviously, to find great talent, you're sometimes going to have to recruit from other companies. Or bring people in from other states to fill some of those higher end positions. So with that being said, we're going to move forward on to what happened in the housing market in 2021. They had pulled permits for new construction, 35,000 new construction housing units. That's the most that's ever been seen in all of the history in Utah. 12 billion in construction. It was how much was pumped into the economy through that. 7.3 billion was in residential alone. So we are building a lot of infrastructure, obviously still commercial spaces as those companies are moving across state lines here. Pre-existing home sales were actually down, and it was only due to the limited amount of inventory. So the demand is strong, it's there. It's just essentially with new construction kind of having a little bit of a chokehold on it due to the shortage of supplies and labor and stuff like that. Otherwise, those people could have moved up into those new construction homes and then resold their pre-existing homes. So that's the only reason why home sales were actually down. And with that being said, because demand's so high and inventory so low, we have 7 days on market. It was the average days on market. And it's just kind of crazy to think, because obviously a few of us on here, Angie Bear is our broker in our Logan Cache Valley expansion location. Liz Sears is our other broker here in Layton. We were all around it back in 2011 during the crash, during the bottom of the market. And back then it was 87 days on market. And so that just kind of can show you the two extremes of where we're at. It's a little unhealthy due to the fact that obviously we have a lot of people wanting to enter the marketplace, and they are competing amongst many other buyers in their same position wanting to enter the marketplace. And so it's a little unhealthy, meaning obviously this year, if you have a home to sell, we definitely encourage you to do it. Because it's even hard essentially to even become a renter. As you can see, vacancy rates are at all-time lows as well at 1.9 to 2.1%. So even the rental market is feeling this limited inventory and high demand. So that's great news for people wanting to invest in real estate and buy investment properties, is you're probably not going to have a hard time finding a great tenant to rent it. And you're more than likely going to have a pretty good cash flow and cap rate because of the fact that, you know, with your 20% down or however much put down, you're going to get all-time pricing per month, even on your rental income. So we definitely want to say it's a great time to get into the market, whether you're an owner occupant or an investor. With that being said, homeowners in Utah, this is mind blowing. I think Angie and Liz and I, when we heard this, we were like, what? This is just unimaginable. Homeowners in Utah realized an increase in their wealth in 2021 of $82.1 billion, not just million, but $1 billion. So honestly, at the end of the day, that just shows you that homeownership really is the best way for you to create wealth. And so we want to just make that a focus of everybody that did take the risk, sort of say, of becoming a homeowner, no matter what year they bought it in. Just in last year alone, as a collective, they increased their wealth across the state by $82.1 billion. So if obviously that just shows you it pays to own your home, it pays to own investment properties. And now we're going to kind of move on a little bit into the impact on higher housing prices. So Liz, do you mind kind of chiming in on this?
Not at all. So a few different things have impacted the price of homes over the past year. We have both market factors and also municipal factors. So the first one is just the economic and demographic growth. We, as a state, have had a significant influx of people moving into our state. We've also had businesses opening up here. Land costs have also gone up. And when the land cost for raw land goes up, that also impacts the land that houses that are already built on are valued by an appraiser. The material costs, we felt that across the entire nation as there's been a bottleneck in supply chains, different materials getting out. They did say that that's not going to get better. It's actually going to get worse before it gets better, but they're hoping that it doesn't last for more than a year or two as we kind of get caught up on that realm. Labor costs and labor shortage. Utah has one of the lowest unemployment rates. I think he had said 2.7%. And when the unemployment rate is that low, then employers compete for employees and it drives the prices up. And then those prices get passed along to the consumer. So it's kind of a cycle that we're in right now. And COVID-19 also had an impact on Utah housing prices. That during the pandemic, the prices rose 28.3%. That was significant. And then we also, because of all of the families moving here and households that used to be combined are now splitting and such, our housing shortage that we have not been able to keep up with. And so when you have limited supply and increased demand, there's always that increased pressure on pricing. And then also the low interest rates keep everybody into a higher pricing point that they can purchase at than if and when prices or interest rates go up, it's going to affect how much people can qualify for. And then the municipal factors are just the regulatory delays. Same thing with the shortage on employees and such. Permits and things can take a little bit longer. Development costs are going up for a lot of the same reasons. And then zoning ordinances. We've had several different zoning ordinance changes that have been happening in our state. Particular one is ADUs. They're called auxiliary dwelling units. Some of the laws that have been passed lately have started to allow people to put auxiliary dwelling units within their home. And even inside of Salt Lake County, they've been able to put it just on their property. So we're going to be seeing more and more of that in the years to come. But one of the first things that's happened, I think it was 70% of residences within any given city have to be allowed to have auxiliary dwelling units, which means you can rent out part of your basement or one of your bedrooms or anything, so long as it's within the four walls of your existing property, that cities have to approve up to that. So if you live in a neighborhood that you don't want renters living in, I know there's a subdivision right in my backyard that they don't allow rentals, then you have to get on with the city to be able to make sure that you're part of that 30% or so that doesn't have those in there. So those are the changes we're seeing in this realm.
Thank you, Liz. And then, are we in a bubble? We get this all the time. And based on everything that the U of U, we heard from two different professors up there today, some of the smartest people across the nation. They said it's very unlikely. Another one said, no, we're not. New construction units are up. Labor shortages obviously have an impact on that as well. Sales remain steady and the housing shortage will continue to keep pushing pricing up. So it'll be another boom year for Utah in our real estate industry and the economy as a whole. So, and all of us feel really good about that. Angie, you want to add to that?
I was just gonna add a little bit to that. Part of the reason that they said we're not in a bubble is because if you define what a housing bubble is when prices go down for a prolonged period of time. And even in the history of Utah, anytime we've had price decreases that have been maybe over a year's time or even a couple years time, they've always been linked to job loss and a weak economy. And we aren't seeing that. We're seeing job growth and economic growth, which then supports a housing increase rather than a housing decrease or a bubble where prices are going to decrease. Also, economically, when we had the market crash before, we had a lot of mortgage fraud and a weak economy. But what the government has done to help offset that and keep us in a good, strong housing market is we've had forbearance and rental assistance, which has kept people in their homes. So that's keeping the housing market strong as well. It's just keeping people in their homes. So it's very unlikely that we are going to see any kind of a crash or a bubble burst or any of that. So if that's your thought, you want to kind of think how to get on to the real estate train rather than off.
Perfect. Okay, does anybody else have anything to add in regards to that? Hearing that there's none, we're going to continue on. Okay, so that's 2021 in a review. It's always good to see where were we at and now where are we going. So,
you know what, actually, Shannon, I did think of one more thing we hadn't mentioned yet, and there is just about the housing shortage of having 3,000 fewer homes and then 7,000 fewer homes from 2019 to 2020. And that we've always had kind of a surplus every year until just the last 2 years. And so that's having an impact as well.
Perfect. Thanks for hitting on that talking point. All right, Liz, take it away. What are we expecting in 2022?
All right, so this is probably everyone's biggest question, is what's going to happen this coming year. And according to the economists that spoke at Northern Wasatch and at Salt Lake County, is that they're expecting this market to still go strong for at least another year. Housing prices are expected to rise between 10 to 12%, as you can see in the slide. They're hoping that this is our last year of double-digit increases. And so this is where it's important to take into consideration, if you're thinking about buying a home within the next 1 to 2 years, it might be in your better interest to buy sooner than later. And there are different programs that are still available for people and ways to have your realtor, hopefully one of us, structure your offer to increase your odds of winning the home. And so Bryce is going to touch on that in a little while, especially regarding mortgage interest rates. We're expecting this spring market to be another significant boom and to have a sales repeat in the 17 to 18,000 transactions. That is a lot of homes that's going to be selling every single day. And that's one of the things that we do, is we help our clients really identify what are going to be the best homes, and just basically how to make sure that the offer you put out gets accepted. 36,000 new construction units are going to be putting up. And the shortage of supplies and labors are going to still be felt as you're going through the new construction process. And even if you buy a home that needs to be renovated, that's going to have an impact as well. Low vacancy rates are going to continue, which also is going to continue to have an upward pressure on rental prices, definitely through spring, even into possibly 2023. And this is what they call a platinum year of real estate, where we still have low interest rates, we still have increased pressure on pricing. And so if you want to get in, this is a year that's going to have you walking away with equity at the end of the year. A lot of our clients, people buying real estate right now, are even having equity within 3 to 4 months after purchasing a home.
Yeah, that's a true
Crazy.
statement. Yeah. Okay, let's go into the marketing mortgage forecast with Bright Soltzen with Neo Home Loans.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. So before I kind of get going on this, I just kind of want to touch on that, you know, these are forecasts, and there's always something that can come up and change. I mean, if we go back to 2020, we were, you know, expecting 2020 to look a lot different than it was when it came to interest rates. We were expecting rates to go up some until COVID hit, March came, and next thing you know, we're in the lowest interest rate period we had seen in a very, very long time. So this is the forecast. This is what we estimate, but there's always a curveball that can come in and throw things off. So just kind of keep that in mind as well, that this isn't like,
Yeah, we don't fortune tell here.
Yeah.
This is all just projected forecasts, best guesses.
if I could predict exactly what would happen, then I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this. The gentleman that I do follow when it comes to interest rates, his name's Barry Habib. He's won 3 Crystal Ball Awards, which is kind of unheard of. So he is definitely a guru when it comes to this. Fannie and Freddie are expecting to see interest rates go up somewhere around 3.5, 3.55. Barry's expecting that we're going to see rates creep up to 3.75. I would probably have a tendency to trust his forecast a little bit better, considering we're on a pretty steady increase so far this year. And the trend for that is to happen through this year. And as we get towards the back half of this year and later in 2022 and going into 23, they actually anticipate rates to come back towards 3%. And sometime in 2023, we might even see the interest rates we were seeing in 2020 and part of 2021. So keep that in mind, that this is going to be hopefully short-lived. And the reason that this is happening now is the Fed's trying to fight inflation. So earlier in the presentation, Shannon talked on inflation, and right now it is at an all-time high. And the only way that we can curb that is the Fed needs to raise interest rates in order to help curb inflation. So this is kind of a process that we're going to have to go through. It might be a little bit painful in the short term, but long term it should work out good for us. So affordability, the thing with affordability is wages are keeping pace with the rise of prices. So that's what we have to keep in mind, is as prices go up, wages are also going up. So that's what the Fed's looking at when it comes to affordability, and making sure that, homes do remain affordable. And so if wages are not keeping pace with the appreciation rates and interest rates going up, then we enter into an unaffordable market, which is actually where we were back in 2007. So I mean, that's definitely what they're trying to avoid at the moment. So for Utah, something that we need to keep in mind is we saw a population growth of about 1.7%. So that's approximately 56,000 people that came to Utah last year. So the hard truth is we may have some clients that we were working with that as prices have continued to go up and now interest rates ticked up a little bit, they may not be able to qualify at this moment. But with the amount of people coming into our market and the amount of millennials entering the market that are now becoming to an age where they can purchase homes, there's still a lot of opportunity and a lot of clients that can be captured if you have the right mindset about it. So it's, you know, we obviously want to still make sure we take care of those clients that we need to keep in touch with and groom until maybe they get to a point where they can jump back in this market, which may be later this year or early 2023, but there's still lots of opportunity out there with our job market and growth. So let's not get hung up on a couple people that maybe can't qualify right now. There's still a lot of people that can. And even with interest rates at 3.5 or 3.75, doing this since 2003, that's still an incredibly low interest rate. So it's kind of a way of shifting people's mindset that, you know, yeah, it's not 2.5, but 3.5 is still pretty dang good. So that's kind of where I'm projecting we go this year going into 2023.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else to note? I know we were talking about kind of how people were discussing, or they've discussed the monthly mortgage payment and what that looks like in the past 6 years from 2015 to 2021. Do you guys have those numbers in front of you and just want to mention that at all?
I don't have that number in front of me. I kind of with Angie about it, but so if you look at the I do have a slide on this. It's just not readily in front of me. But if you look at where wages and prices were back even into 2006, if you follow the appreciation rate from 2006 to today, and you follow the wage growth from 2006 to today, that exact same home is actually more affordable today than it was in that market if you compare the price and the income, or the price and the rate with the income then versus now. So although the median sales price has gone up and the median house payment has gone up, I think where people are struggling with it is it's just kind of a shift of mindset, because we went from a market of 2015 that a lot of people were, in my budget's $1,000 to $1,200 a month, and that was doable, and that's not really the case anymore. And so not realizing that their wage has grown, their wages have grown with sales prices
in proportion, essentially.
Right. It's being stuck in an old mindset of that number scares me and I can't afford it. But in reality, as their wage has gone up, maybe their spending in other areas that aren't as important has gone up. And so they haven't kind of prioritized where that money should go.
I love that you just shed some light and perspective on that, because you can take it totally one way and you just made a bit, like, that just brings it full circle. So thank you for adding that. Okay. The overview. So with the overview, Liz, I think you're doing the food for thought.
All right. Yes, I am. So this was something that we all found super fascinating, is that Utah is the only state since 1900 that homeownership never dropped below 60%. And anybody who's ever done research or been exposed to the stats, homeownership really creates for a strong economy and kind of just creating those a bigger pool of workers that are attractive to businesses and the stability and such. And so this is one of the other reasons that Utah has also been growing. Homeownership kind of goes hand in hand with that. So what we recommend is get your kids, any adult kids that you have, into homeownership as soon as you can. They get to experience the wealth increase that we talked about a little bit earlier. It also helps stabilize our economy here in the state of Utah. And it's beneficial for long-term wealth creation and such. The population in our state increased by 10 million or it's expected, I'm sorry, to increase
Yeah.
by 10 million by 2100. And so 632,000 new housing units are what is needed. And so we're going to be doing a lot of building out in the state. Land is a good thing to own, property is a good thing to own. And Utah is the envy of the nation for 2020.
Yep. One thing I want to add into getting your kids into housing as soon as you can is get your employees into housing as soon as you can. So I know that Angie, Liz, and I are all willing, able, and available. If you guys have an HR department, or if your office manager wants to get a hold of us, we will come do home buying seminars personally for you and your company. You just need to reach out to us. We'll do a presentation just like this, explain all of the benefits to becoming a homeowner. And actually, it's proven that homeowners end up becoming more loyal employees as well.
Right.
So
and
me,
another thing,
yeah,
sorry, is that right to jump in?
yeah,
Is
great.
there are certain things that people don't understand that they can do to really, really set themselves up to not only be able to buy a home, but also to be able to have a smooth and easy process. And so we'll also talk them through the different ways to make sure that they're setting up a budget, setting money aside, some tips and tricks to get their credit score higher, because the better the credit score, usually the lower the interest rate. And credit score is just simply a statistic. And when you know how the statistic is calculated, you can actually structure your finances around that to have a bump in your score that otherwise you might be forfeiting. And so that's another thing that we'll cover if you would like us to come and speak to your employees, or you just individual as well.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, I was just going to say, I wanted to throw in a couple more fun facts about real estate and like the wealth creation that we talked about. That's probably, besides having a place that you own and the benefits of having your own home and that sense of pride and home ownership, but it's also the best wealth building tool. In the past 30 years, so just since 1991, which wasn't that long ago, Utah has seen a 533.9% increase in housing prices, which is second in the nation to only Washington, D.C. So we are really at the top for the wealth that you can create through owning a home. And just in the last 6 years, our prices have doubled. So people who've owned property for more than 6 years have really been able to set themselves up for wealth. And the good thing that wealth does for everybody is when you have wealth, you're contributing to the economy, you're living a fantastic, amazing life, you're doing all the things you want to do in the community. And that can happen based on home ownership.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Before moving on, anybody have any other tidbits, takeaways, full circle things that you guys want to hurry and add in? If not, we're going to move on. We are here to help. My Utah agents, our mission is to provide professional value. That comes first and foremost. Our whole goal is to help people with the biggest investments of their whole life, help create that wealth that they're searching for and make it a reality. We want to help them achieve their goals with that and exceed all expectations. So we have an entire team across the state of Utah here to help. If you guys want to do a one-on-one home buyer consultation, we have a phenomenal one that takes 30 minutes to walk you through what home buying in today's market looks like, what to expect along that way, so you can be prepared and empowered by being informed of what that looks like and entails and all of that. If you are a seller and you want to know, what is my house worth? I have owned it for 6 years or even just 3 years or maybe just 1 year. Whatever it is, it probably is more than what you actually end up realizing. So if you are thinking of moving, we would love to help assist you with that. So our team phone number is 801-436-3204. You can visit myutahagents.com. You can search for homes on there. You can find an agent on there. You can request a CMA on there. We are here to help you guys make your move a reality. And we really, honestly, don't take any of it for granted. We love what we do. We love who we do it for. This is not just a job. It's not a career. This is a calling for a lot of us. This becomes a part of who we are. And seeing the success stories and what we're able to accomplish over the years and help our, not only our agents that work with us, because they too benefit from the company, but seeing what our clients are able to do with their lives, that is just so fulfilling for us. So please reach out to us if you need anything at all. We really appreciate your guys' time today. We wanted to keep it short and sweet. If you have any questions for Bryce on financing and mortgages, feel free to call or text him at 801-644-4443. Bryce, do you want to give a plug really quick with NEO and kind of their mission?
Yeah, so NEO's kind of stance on the mortgage industry as we view things as a new way of doing things. That's what the Latin word for new is NEO. So our approach here is very different than other companies I've worked with in the past. We are positioning ourselves to be ahead of what's coming in the market. So as it gets more competitive and there's less and less inventory, we know that we're going to have to be super competitive when it comes to writing offers, whether that's tightening up deadlines, helping clients look more like a cash offer. So we've actually been strategizing over the last couple of weeks on how we can restructure our process to be ultra competitive on our offers. And one particular team that's already kind of started doing this, they've found that by doing this way, they're having a 78% success rate on their offers getting accepted. So, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good percentage that I'd like to have. So it's definitely quite different than anything I'm accustomed to. And I'm super excited with what we have to come this year.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I appreciate my team. We rallied, we made this happen. Super short time frame turnaround because we wanted to be one of the first to put this information out there. Again, if you guys have any specific questions or need clarity on anything, we are here to help. Reach out to us. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.